All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, my name is Chad McDaniel. I'm the president and founder of Execs in the Know, and it's an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to share with our listener audience today a very important topic that we call transforming the digital customer experience. But before I get into what we are going to be accomplishing today, I want to tell you a little bit more about Execs in the Know for those that are not familiar with us. Execs in the Know is a very large corporate brand community that is really about enabling best practice insights and sharing, what we call leaders learning from leaders. We are very fortunate to have a number of brands that are participating, paying it forward to the industry, so to speak, in sharing insights and ideas, everything around customer engagement and customer success. If you've not been to our website, I would encourage you to go to www.execsintheknow.com. If you go under our events and resource tabs, there is tremendous amount of research and reporting and information available to you through our blog series, our report series, and other very content-driven related information. I encourage you to see it. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you today and your time. Thank you very much. If we could go to the next slide, Vijay. I want to give just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. There's going to be questions. We're going to make those questions available towards the end. Vijay, I know you've got a lot of data points that you're going to want to cover off on our time, so we've agreed that we're going to ask the questions towards the end. For our guest, there is a chat box. You can send direct messages to me as the moderator or your questions. I would encourage you to use that on your panel, the chat box, or there is also a Q&A button that you can ask questions again on your participant panel part of today's WebEx. The other thing is I want to make you know that you are our customers. Your feedback is important to us. As soon as we end today's webinar, you're going to get a pop-up screen in your panel about a survey. I would ask you just to take a couple of minutes and please complete the feedback and survey. It really does help Execs in the Know define the type of content and the things that we want to share with our listeners. And then the final piece is the presentation you'll see today. Again, there's going to be a number of slides, but this will be made available to you within the next 24 hours. You'll get an email link sent to you, which will include a digital recording of today's presentation and including the presentation slides. So feel free to share that within your network and pass that along. If we could go on to the next slide here real quick. Vijay, I've had the pleasure to work with 24/7 for a number of years as a thought leader in this industry, really helping enable Execs in the Know around kind of the most current things that are impacting customer success today. Vijay, I know, I think it was a couple of months ago, back in August, we were at a dinner together with a large group of corporate brands there in New York City, and it was a pleasure to get a chance to meet and work with you directly there, and even some of the events that you participated with in Execs in the Know. But for our audience that may not be familiar with you, I'll just go very quickly. Vijay, I know you bring over 15 years experience in this area, including leading vertical market research, messaging, and go-to-market strategy. Prior to 24/7, I know you were with Genesis and VeriSign and Coney, I think, in regards to some of your leadership. I know you've got tremendous insight, extremely well qualified to speak to today's topic and importance of today's topic about the digital transformation. So without further ado, our topic today is transforming the digital customer experience, and we really want to talk about some of the transformation needs to focus in customer service, why some of these digital technologies are being used by top companies to maximize customer satisfaction and drive revenues. And really, Vijay, how can we take an iterative approach to transforming some of the customer experience? So, Vijay, welcome. Thank you for your time. I know how busy you are and your time in leadership with our audience. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chad, and hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. So this is, as Chad mentioned and introduced, this is a topic which has really been, I would say, spoken about quite a bit in the recent few months or maybe the last couple of years. In fact, some of the thoughts which I have in this topic, I did socialize with Execs in the Nose event called the Customer Response Summit in Chicago in the month of September, where I personally met not only Chad and his team, but also met a bunch of other brands and did socialize this topic, since this topic is pretty much in the news or in the hype cycle, for lack of a better word, as far as customer support and customer experience leaders are concerned. So today's topic, what I'm going to talk about specifically is, today's goals is, what my goal today is, if I can leave this audience with a clear understanding of what are the myths, what are the facts, as far as when somebody talks about digital transformation of customer service, that will be a step one success. Step two success is there are a lot of technology items today, and the common question which is being asked is how does using AI, which is artificial intelligence or machine learning and chatbots and chat, help accomplish digital transformation. So if I could, my goal is to share some examples of how you could use these technologies specifically to accomplish digital transformation. That would be goal number two. And lastly, goal number three is, as with every digital transformation, or as with every disruptive innovation, it's key for us to think about how can we build for the future. It's just not about today. It's just not about using the channels that are available today, but how can we build for the future? How can we invest the necessary dollars in the right platform, which can actually look towards the future rather than for the now. So those are the top three goals I would like to leave the audience with. And so if we cover this and you're able to kind of really understand the myths and the facts and understand how we can accomplish digital transformation, that'll be a big success. So the first question I would always like to ask is, what exactly is digital transformation? And I'll just go with saying DT for the rest of the webinar, given its 5 syllables in terms of saying it over and over again. So my question to you is it connecting all digital customer touch points? Is it creating a personalized, predictive, and effortless customer service experience? Is it also connecting all digital channels and devices? Or is it a nirvana that can never be achieved? Or is it last thing, is it my personal nightmare? So my question to all of you, and I'll give you about 10-15 seconds, if you can use your chat, the Q&A box, to say what exactly is digital transformation, by either typing A, B, C, or A, B, E, D, or is it A, B, C, D, E, or is it A, D, E, whatever it is. So let's just give another 5 seconds. Yep, so the answer is, it's the top three. So our view, or my view, of digital transformation of customer experience is basically connecting all your customer touch points. It's basically connecting all the channels and devices, and it's also helping create a personalized, predictive, effortless customer service experience. So these are the key things. Why some of these things are extremely important? Because if you look at it, we are all in the digital world. We're all spoiled by the experiences what we gain from other brands. To be more specific, we are spoiled by how we communicate with our friends and family and significant others. We are spoiled by what kind of experiences we get from known brands like Amazon and Netflix specifically. We expect that from the other brands we interact with. So no matter, even though we might be interacting with a bank or a retailer or a telecom company, we expect that to have the same form of personalized experiences what we would normally get from Amazon and Netflix. And since we normally communicate with our friends and significant others in natural language, we expect that to be a given. So in essence, we are really looking for companies or brands that can really transform our digital experiences by helping create a personalized, predictive, and effortless customer experience. That's pretty much what it is. And that requires connecting all the different touch points that's available today and in the future, which is why it's important to think about building towards the future, because these digital touch points are going to increase and customers are going to use the more modern forms of communication. And why is that very important today? Why is understanding the holistic journey very important today? Because if you look at different statistics specifically, these are statistics, it's pretty much consistent. Number one, there is over 60 or nearly 65% of failed first contact resolution. And when you go and speak with customer support leaders or contact center leaders, FCR, which is a first contact resolution, needs to be always be high. And having a 65% is really bad from a business outcome standpoint. 68% abandoned digital channels. Why is that important? Why is that important? Because we all know, we see various statistics that more and more customers are using digital channels to communicate with brands for their customer service problems. But if 68% are actually abandoning, what are they doing next? They're picking up the phone and they're calling the contact centers. And we all know that phone calls are more expensive, voice agents are more expensive, and really voice agents and phone calls, nothing against them, but they're not the most highly rated customer satisfaction channels as far as improving the experience. So investing all this money in digital channels and then having a significant number of callers abandoning digital channels is not really the best or the optimal use of resources from a business outcome standpoint. And last thing is, there's no visibility to combine data from all the channels, and that's very important because think about it this way. Think about it as you being a banking customer. You log in through your tablet, you find a problem with your statement, and then you have to pick up the phone and call in, and there's no connection between what you're doing on your tablet with your phone call, and the agent has no understanding of what you're exactly calling for. So that's kind of the lack of really able to combine the data and really resulting in a poor customer experience. So to achieve success with the digital transformation of customer service, I think that it starts with, number one, separating the facts separating the myths from the facts, or separating facts from fiction, or separating fiction from facts. So first, it's important to understand what exactly are some of the myths, and what we think are some of the myths are, number one is digital transformation takes years to implement. It takes multiple years to implement. We really can't really realize the true benefits until after a few years. There is no need to worry about maturity. You can just go and you just need to go and deploy everything, and there's no maturity curve and for your enterprise, and that's what is needed. It's all about adding more channels. It's all about adding more channels. So recently we saw news about Apple Business Chat introducing a new digital channel for communicating with customers. Then we see WhatsApp thinking about using some brands using WhatsApp to communicate with their customers. So these are all new channels. And so some people think, one of the common myths is that digital transformation is about adding about new channels. It's about building it once and leaving it alone. And lastly, it's an added cost of doing business. But if you look at some of the facts, these are the myths, these are the fictions. If you look at the facts is that you need to first, number one, have an overall vision in terms of what exactly you're trying to accomplish as far as digital transformation is concerned. You can see progress in months. It's not about taking years to implement and taking years to see some progress. You can see some genuine progress in a few months as far as some of your business metrics and business outcomes are considered. You need to focus on journeys, not channels. If you start thinking about how can you address customer journey problems. So a journey is when a customer is interacting with a brand for a specific request. It could be an acquisition journey, acquiring a customer for a retail business or a telecom business or a travel business. It could be just a normal servicing journey like bill payments, fraud protection, charge verification, or it could be just loyalty. Those are all servicing journeys. So if you start thinking about customers in the view of customer journeys, then how they interact with you from a channel standpoint becomes irrelevant, because you're thinking about providing a holistic experience for the customer across the entire journey standpoint. And thereby you can actually prevent customers from abandoning their digital channels, from also you can also use the data and visibility from other digital channels to provide the best experience possible. It's ongoing at optimizing, continuous optimization. So it's not about basically building it once and leaving it alone. It's about leveraging technology like artificial intelligence or machine learning to continuously optimize how customers are interacting with your brands, and in the process basically drive the next level of customer experience with digital channels. And lastly, I think it goes without saying, as you can get more and more customers to purely or use automation on your digital channels, that actually decreases the cost of customer service. It is not about an added cost of doing business. So this is the first step, which we think is separating the myths from the facts, or separating the fiction from the facts, to kind of have a clear understanding. And now we'll go into the detail of each of the facts to see how exactly we can help customers thinking about digital transformation. And the number one is about corporate alignment. I mean, this is a question which I normally get, and I've been on a bunch of Twitter chats, tweet chats about with industry experts on different topics. And I came from the mobile industry, as Chad mentioned before, my previous experience in the contact center industry. And when mobile revolution took place in the late 2000s, and we're talking about companies, there's a saying always that mobile strategy is not a different strategy, it's part of the overall business strategy. Similarly, if you look about it from a customer service standpoint, from a digital transformation standpoint, DT is not its own strategy. It has to be aligned with the overall business strategy. The reason being, if it's its own strategy and not really aligned, then you don't get buy-in. It's all about silos. It's all about not really understanding what we're here to accomplish, and that really doesn't help drive the business outcomes. So specifically, it's not a siloed project. You need to link organizational teams. It's easier to get executive sponsorship if it's its whole overall business strategy. There's a better understanding of groups within the enterprises where they can be aware of the changing mindset. It's new to almost everyone. It helps connect the technology silos. And the most important thing is, as far as DT is concerned, is to provide the next form of customer experiences. It's about trying to get access to the right data we need and what exactly we can help accomplish. So the number one step in every transformation of digital customer experience is to have a corporate alignment. Number two is about defining the vision. So what exactly are we looking to accomplish? What's the vision? What's the 3 to 5 year vision in terms of understanding what we're here to accomplish in terms of transforming our customer experience? And the reason this is important is digital transformation is actually ongoing. You have continuous opportunities to optimize and improve the customer experiences. We have technologies, which I'll get to in a second, where we can start with a specific set of rules, but then if you start collecting data and if you start able to understand what the customers are looking for, you can actually optimize experience based on your customers' changing behavior. And that's extremely important because that really helps define the vision as far as digital transformation is concerned. So the key constituents which help us define the vision is using the consumer-driven analytic insights. It's empowering customers to choose their own channels. It's about connecting the conversation across channels, devices, and time. And lastly, and those are the 3 things. So these are the 3 things which really help define the vision in terms of really trying to help improve the customer experiences. And let's go through them examples for each of these 3 things. And the reason customer journeys are connected is because if you look at typically a life cycle of a customer, you look at the customer experience continuum. It starts with acquisition to engagement. You pretty much, before a customer is a customer, they're actually a prospect. You're looking, as a brand, you're looking to acquire the customer. So typically, let's take a specific example. Let's take an example of, let's take my own personal example. I was trying to book my tickets, for my family to go somewhere during the holidays. So the first thing I did was, and I just basically went on Google and I just typed best places to visit in December in Europe or in Asia or in South America. And the next time when I log into Facebook, is I see a lot of these ads coming and specifically saying, okay, Cathay Pacific to Bali, or American Airlines to Chile, Machu Picchu, or something like that. So the reason all of that is done is so companies are using search bidding and social ads and retargeting to basically attract customers into the website. So I go click on Cathay Pacific, for example, and the next thing is, I'm just trying to spend some time, and there's no real engagement for me to help convert me from bringing onto the website to the customer. There is no form of customer experience, customer engagement, or prediction, which really actually helps me complete my journey. So that's where some of the companies are missing. So let's assume a case where companies actually able to attract and convert customers once they enter the website. Then there's a lack of experience specifically in terms of the servicing journeys, because companies or customers are using different devices, different channels, and different ways to get to brands, and that's why the customer journeys are connected. So from a pure brand standpoint, as far as DT is concerned going forward, it's about really connecting all of these journeys across both pre-acquisition to acquisition to engagement to servicing to really help drive the next form of customer experience. And you have to look at all the channels, social channels, chat channels, mobile, website, IVR, and leverage all the different structured and unstructured data you can find to ensure that the experiences are connected and tied to provide the best form of customer experience. So that helps by basically focusing on the journeys and not channels. And this is pretty much the similar example I just talked about. You start from the web, you might go to the phone, you might use the mobile, and might actually go home. So it's about basically using the different technology devices by focusing on all the different channels to provide the right form of customer experiences. And this is one example that you would like to show. It's connecting journeys involves across time, devices, and channels. Why is it across time? Because very rarely do people actually log on at the same time, look what they're finding, search what they're looking for, complete the journey, whether it's a sales journey or an acquisition journey or a service journey. Sometimes it might require across time. So here's a case. What you see on your screen, a customer actually, is basically made a reservation for a rental car, and then they log in later through their phone, basically to either change the reservation or upgrade the reservation. So connecting this journey would involve understanding the customer actually already has a reservation, and interacting them saying, hey, nice to have you back. Would you like to change your reservation or make a new one? The second thing is across devices, and here's a case, this actually does happen in some cases, where I'm trying to book a flight from San Francisco to Liberty, as you see on your screen, and United Airlines, and you're actually logged in through my member portal, through my Mileage Plus account. So I'm basically logged in, I'm trying to find some information, and then I decide to call in because I'm not able to look what I'm finding for, either in terms of flexible fares, non-flexible fares, and everything else. So when you actually call in, United actually has an understanding that you are on their membership portal and you're still calling in regarding the particular journey. So why is this important from a brand? This is important from a brand because the brands have an understanding of the presence of the customer. They're able to connect the journeys across the different devices. And in the process, they're able to understand what the customer is looking for. They don't have to spend a lot of time, and they're able to connect the journeys, and in the process, basically provide a better customer experience. And the last thing is about channels, and channels and time and devices pretty much are the same things, because you're pretty much, again, all of us use different channels. We might use our desktop, we might use our tablet, we might use our phones. And at some point, it's about ensuring that the data is transferred, the journeys are connected so that we can have the right form of customer experiences. So that's the second rule in terms of helping defining the vision, focusing on the journeys to ensure that we can connect the journeys across time, device, and channels to provide the right form of experiences, leveraging the advanced insights from the customer. The third approach is taking a practical, iterative, or innovative approach, and this way you can see the progress within a few months. And the way this is done is basically understanding and analyzing your customer journeys. So this is a common question I normally get when I was in Chicago as well for Chad's event, and I was speaking to a bunch of brands. I asked a question, so do you guys have an understanding of your top 10 customer journeys? And some brands had an understanding, some brands didn't. The next follow-up question is, the reason this is very important is it really helps you identify the right channel strategy. And what I mean by that is if you have an understanding of your top 20 journeys of your customer, and if you're able to plot the journeys, basically saying what's valuable to you and what's valuable to the business and what's valuable to the customer. If you're able to plot on an XY axis with 4 quadrants, then it's very easy to help identify the channel strategy. The bottommost quadrant is low value to the business, low value to the customer. And so those are the journeys where you would not want to have a voice agent or a chat agent interact because it's very expensive. You pretty much want to have the least sophisticated bot to answer the question. As the journeys get more complex, as they become more valuable to the customer and valuable to the business, you might want to make a determination on what you want to be self-serviced and what you want to be assisted service through a chat agent or voice agent. And sometimes you might directly want an agent to connect because it's extremely valuable to both the business and the customer. So in terms of having this kind of an approach, if you have a good understanding in terms of what exactly your journeys are, able to analyze, it will help you automate and choose the right technology environment to drive the next form of experiences and to basically help achieve your business outcomes. And we'll go through each of this specifically. The first one is also, once you have an understanding, is also about, do you understand how exactly customers are leaking across journeys? And here's an example what you see of a telecom customer who are basically using data to understand basically how the channel was leakages and patterns were happening. So if you notice, a lot of customers were leaking from web to IVR when they had a problem with their account. Customers were also leaking from web to chat when they had a problem with their account. And if you take a step back and think about it, this actually makes sense actually. Because think about you as a customer, you're logging into your wireless account. You normally, the common tendency is you log into the account, see a problem with overage charges or some problem with your plan, and then call in or you interact with chat agent and so forth. It's very rarely done the other way. You're very rarely calling in to find out what's the problem with your bill. It's you first you find out and then you call it. Whereas in the terms of cancellation, very rarely customers go from web to IVR. It's pretty much either web to chat or chat to IVR, because you're pretty much going to the web, trying to figure out how to cancel your plan, and then you directly go through it. So in essence, if you know what your journeys are, and if you have the data to understand this cross kind of linkages, it really helps you plan in terms of how exactly you want to connect the different customer touch points, and what form of treatment you want to offer for what journeys. So that's what the key takeaway from this particular slide is: understanding the key customer journeys in and across channels. It will help you plan what exactly you're looking for, and also what kind of channel treatment is needed. Because the next step is, once you have the journeys, it's all about connecting the touch points. So, a typical case could be a customer could start on the web, he's authenticated, he escalates a call to IVR, you authenticate once more. The existing IVRs today pretty much just use voice agents as a safety net, as a fallback. Whereas modern IVRs, what can happen is, after you authenticate the IVR, you're able to basically use presence. Remember, I talked about the United example. You're actually seeing that you actually know the customers on the website. And then you pretty much offer what form of self-service support you want, either through the desktop, because the customer is already in the desktop, to kind of really help reduce the self-service effort or the experience. Or the other example is, if you need assistance, you basically transfer it to the voice agent or chat agent, and the chat agent can still push information across to the end user on the desktop or on the tablet. So thereby, you're basically reducing effort, and you're digitizing the entire experience and connecting the different touch points. So from a pure customer service standpoint, it's a much better experience. So think about a specific example. Let's take an example. Let's take an example of, say, you log into your credit card account, and you see a notification saying your card is blocked. Please call 800-555-1212. So what you would do, you've already logged into your account, so you authenticate. Your desktop or your tablet is still on the account. You would call into the IVR, and IVR authenticates you. Once IVR is authenticated, you're transferred to the agent, because agent assistance is required. So the voice agent in this case basically says, okay, I see you're on your screen. The reason your card is blocked is because we suspect some suspected charges, and so we want to review the last 10 charges with you. Normally, if you don't have presence, what would happen? The voice agent would normally repeat the last 10 charges. So I see you use your phone at Chevron, you used your card at Macy's, and card at Express, and card at American Airlines or whatnot. And normally, from a pure customer experience standpoint, think about it. You actually have to sit there on the phone and think, saying, oh, did I really use my card over here? Did I really use my card there? Did my wife use my card here? Whereas if you actually get the agent to push all the charges on your screen in a digital format on your tablet or desktop, from a pure effort standpoint, it is that much so much easier, because you actually see the charges on your screen, and you're able to tell, hey, yeah, I think this charge is okay, that charge is okay, maybe this charge is not okay. So you're able to agree on what charges are okay, what charges are not okay, and send it back to the agent, and the agent is able to solve the call quickly. So what this connecting touch points actually happens is that you're really able to improve the experience and reduce the effort from a customer experience standpoint. The last thing is about automating journeys, which I talked about. I think I gave a brief understanding. I talked about it briefly, but you can think about it two ways. Either think about it from a value to the business and value to the user standpoint, or the other way to look at it is interactivity versus task complexity. So from automating journeys, which we talk about chatbots today, it's about, if your chatbot, you just need a basic answer like, how do I change my password? That is a single response answer. Whereas we need a little bit more complex and sophistication, then you need to start getting into conversational mode and in transactional mode, and make it a lot more sophisticated from a bot standpoint to really help automate the journeys. So this is another framework for you to think about, specifically if you want to look at automating journeys. So automating journeys, always look at single response, conversational, interactivity versus task complexity. The fourth example I want to talk about is mapping the transformation. And having an overall vision helps with the maturity models, and the maturity model, what we like to talk about at 24/7, talks about 4 stages. The level 1 is pretty much multi-channel, which is multi-channel, you have, the different aspects as far as customer is concerned, technology is concerned, and the business is concerned. So from a business standpoint, the strategy is focused on customer satisfaction, and multi-channel is pretty much looking at, transactional with little to no context, the standard experiences and the technologies what you would normally use to before. Our experience is that most companies we interact with today are pretty much extinct as far as multi-channel is concerned. Most companies have moved on to what we think is cross-channel adaptive, where it's much more of a conversational response with customers. You transfer the context across channel pairs, so it's either web to IVR, mobile to IVR, or VA to IVR, or virtual agent to IVR, or chatbots to IVR, chatbots to chat, and so forth. You pretty much use business rules as your primary form with some real-time decisioning. And the strategy is focused on customer retention. So you're looking at basically understanding how can I basically provide the right form of customer experiences so that you are focused on customer retention, focused on NPS scores and CSAT scores so that there's no negative experience for the customer. A lot more companies are evolving into omni-channel, which is level 3, which is all about predictive experiences, leveraging data and context to understand what the customer intent is, and then seamlessly transfer this across all channels. Over here, it's about driving digital interactions. All channels are integrated. The focus on customer loyalty. You're really using real-time decisioning rules followed by business rules, and you're defining the joint customer journey, prioritizing multi-channel data and device integration to form the right form of experiences. What we think is the ideal nirvana, or is the one digital channel, is the pure transformational experiences, where your customer service is at the palm of the customer, is basically in the hands of the customer like a digital concierge, or from a banking customer, it's like a digital personal banker, or a digital shopper for a retail customer, where there's a two-way interaction between agents and users across any channel. There's complete integration. Agent is viewed as a single point of contact. Customer is viewed as a single point of contact. You're really leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning because it's just not about understanding how your customers are interacting, who your customers are, but it's also about understanding and learning from the customer interactions to purely optimize experiences going forward. Here the focus is all about customer advocacy. You're prioritizing everything, and that's the ideal stage. So we see a variety of customers. Yeah, Chad. Yeah, Chad.
I'm just going to jump in here. By the way, I really love this slide, and again, all this will be recorded. But just for our guests, I'd be curious if you want to do it on a chat or Q&A, where do you kind of see your organization at level 1, 2, 3, or 4? There's no right or wrong answers, but just kind of curious to where you would say you're at in your own journey. But I like the way that's mapped out, and do we have any nirvanas out there? But please continue with you folks.
No, I was trying to pause as well at this point in time. So it's good. It's a good transition. So we'll just give it maybe another 5-10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few come in and got some level 1s going on. I'm waiting for that nirvana to happen, but it's an interesting perspective. And you know, the thing I find all the time with the many gatherings and events we do, you know, everyone's heart's in the right place. They're trying to do the best thing for their customer. But at the end of the day, it's really know who your customer is and really look at that earlier slides about the journey mapping and the other pieces. I know a lot of that seems very straightforward, but know your customer, and different industries are different throughout this. So saw a number of level 2s going on, but please keep them coming. I know we've got a few more slides here, Vijay, but I like that one.
Great, thanks, Chad. So that's good to hear that there are still some companies in level 1. That's really interesting. All right, so the 5th and the 6th, I have just a few more steps, but the 5th step is more about understanding technologies that transform customer experiences. And here it's all about, you know, the common technologies today we hear are chatbots and integrate chat with chatbot. I'd like to talk about digitize and modernize IVR. So I'll go into each of these examples. The key point here I want to emphasize is you need to think about a platform which obviously leverages AI and ML. But the focus is the platform has to help you build once, deploy anywhere. And this is extremely important because you need to think of how I can leverage the common business logic, because that's what is going to get you the nirvana stage. Your business logic is the same. You just have to think of adding channels at an incremental cost. If you have to think about separate business logic for each channel, then it becomes very expensive. The experiences are fragmented, not really continuous or connected, and really doesn't help solve your digital transformation. So that's what I would like to really the takeaway is it's about having having a platform which obviously leverages AI and ML, but it focuses on the build once, deploy anywhere approach. So the first one is about AI and chatbots, and again, the Chicago event was fantastic. Chad, once again, fantastic job with that event, where the topics were great. But one of the interesting discussions I had with a few brands is, is AI, this chatbots and AI and chat, are they another hype or they reality? And the way I would like to think about it is, think about chatbots as basically, the IVR equivalent of your digital channels. Why do I say that? 15 years back, and I've been in this industry for more than 17 years now. 15 years back, the IVR industry, when the primary form of customer support was through the phone, companies started introducing IVR specifically as a self-service mechanism to deflect calls for routinely answered questions to the IVR. Now, the form of interactions with brands or customer support is through digital channels. And what is a way to really self-serve digital channels and digital interactions? It's a chatbot. So that's the way I would look at it. So it's not a hype. I think it's a natural evolution in terms of how exactly companies have to interact with their customers. The only difference is, since we are communicating on digital channels, natural language is actually a given. So I don't think natural language is a big deal. It should be a given because we don't expect to communicate on digital channels like the way we communicate with a phone. It's like saying, how do we communicate with our friends and significant others on text messaging using directed dialogue or press 1, press 2? No, we speak naturally, so we expect that. So in the case of chatbots to chat, I think the key point you want to emphasize over here is you need to have the same form factor. Our research, design becomes an extremely important factor because we're all in the experience era. So when you're trying to provide some advice, the form factor has to be really conducive to have increased adoption. So pretty much over here, what we emphasize at 24/7 is a same form factor from a design and a visual appeal standpoint. So it's convenient to customers to kind of interact. They don't really know who they're interacting with. Either a chatbot can answer the question. So here, since it's a holiday season coming up, the common question which retailers would get is, what's your return policy? And sometimes a chatbot may not be able to answer the question because it is a very complex question. There are different complexities involved during holiday season as far as returns are concerned. Some might be seasonal items, some might be not so seasonal items. So if this is a question you think your chatbot cannot answer, you transfer them with the full context to the agent. You have a seamless transition on the same screen to an agent, and the agent is able to introduce himself or herself and repeat the customer intent and solve the problem. Now, the same thing, you think about an example where this is just a simple question saying, do I need to sign for my SLR, which I'm ordering tomorrow? Simple, straightforward question. And that's a question perhaps a chatbot can answer on their own, saying, yeah, because the item is an expensive item, it requires a delivery exception. You need to be there to present a sign. Or if I'm getting wine shipped, I think that's a great example, right? We like to ship wines during holidays to our friends and vendors and everybody else. So that's a question where you basically said, yeah, an adult needs to be present to receive the shipment. So these are some examples. But again, the point here I want to mention is you need to think about providing a visual experience, the same form factor experience. Answer the simple questions, what you think with a chatbot, and if there's assistance required, you seamlessly transfer on the same screen with the full context to provide the right experience. The next example I want to talk about is digitizing the phone experience, the phone channel. And this is very interesting because sometimes we do still end up having to call agents and call the contact centers for experiences. So here's an example of a travel where a person is calling in. They're calling in, they understand the context, so saying, okay, are you calling about your flight back to New York? The person says, yes, I would like to fly back. I would like to make a change and fly back. So the agent is connected. So the agent, rather than saying there are 15 different flights with flight number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, what they do is they basically leverage the smartphone capabilities of the person calling. They send a text. The person selects that text, and they see all the different flight options, which is from a fly back to New York. So you see the different flight options, the total travel time, and additional fare. So the person basically, customer selects the flight, which is the best, which is obviously a non-stop, which doesn't have a change penalty. Now, if the customer has basically booked the rental car through the same provider, then they basically change the rental car information as well and send the updated information. They select submit, and everything is done. So here's a case where you're actually digitizing the phone channel interaction. So you're calling in, you're able to leverage the smartphone capabilities of the of the end user, and then able to basically provide a much better experience standpoint. For me personally, I had a similar experience not from a travel company but from a credit card company last year during holiday season, where there was actually fraud on my card. So I got a call in, proactive call in, and they said, okay, if you're on a smartphone, say yes, we'll send you a text and you can see the charges on your phone. And that's exactly what I did. I got a text message. I selected the text message. By the way, my phone line was still on, and there was indeed fraud charges. So I said, these charges I don't approve. I got connected to a voice agent. The voice agent knew that I'd disapproved the charges. They're able to cancel my credit card and ship me my new card right away overnight. So that's an example where you're really leveraging the experiences of the smartphones. And what we have seen from our customers is that this actually not only reduces the average handle time, it also improves the first contact resolution, and also improves the customer satisfaction scores as far as specific journeys are concerned. Obviously, this is a demo. I'm going to give it 5 stars. Okay, so you can do that as well. So the last thing is about building platforms, and I talked about leveraging a simple platform from single channel. So build once, deploy anywhere approach. Previously, we had 2 different interfaces. You had the digital channels and the phone channel. If you think about using a common business logic and natural language, when you have different visual interfaces and voice interfaces, this really helps you think about basically building for the future. You can build once, deploy through any channels if you have a common business logic and a common natural language platform, and you're able to tie both the different channels together. So this is where having a platform which is able to provide you that common business logic, able to provide you to help you leverage the business logic, will really help you settle for the future in terms of building once, deploying anywhere approach. The last thing about any digital transformation is about driving new ROI, and what we have seen is pretty much the ROI where customers are able to realize is they're able to attract more customers, grow market share, increase their incremental revenues, lower their costs, improve or maintain the margins, because you want to ensure that the right forms of journeys need the right form of assistance. So thereby you're able to improve and maintain margins of your customers' inquiries. And the key point, what we always say is customer lifecycle pretty much starts from pre-purchase to post-purchase service engagements. We spend a lot of time researching, less time when the actual purchase decision is being made, and a lot of time servicing. True ROI is delivered if you're able to tie all the different experiences, and thereby you're able to get repeat customers, and it's all customer advocacy. So the examples in terms of the experience, the benefits, what we think so far, from a pure customer service, customer support standpoint is you want to automate at least 30% of your customer journeys, 30% more customer journeys, target to at least improve 10%, in terms of first contact resolution, reduce the average handle time by at least 10%, and you support as many channels as what customers require today. The way you do that is if you have a platform which can enable a build once, deploy anywhere approach, that can really help you realize all of these benefits. The last thing is you always want to learn from others, and this is where you don't want to reinvent the wheel. Learn from proper customers and vendors who have actually done this from others, done this many times before, and thereby you learn. And a chat provides a great opportunity and a great venue where different executives actually are able to come and share different experiences. I'll let him have the closing thoughts towards the end of the presentation, but that's another place where we can really kind of learn how different brands and different customers are able to basically grow in the digital transformation era. So that my key takeaways for this particular webinar would be, number one, digital transformation is transforming every business. I think that's self-explanatory, specifically so in customer service as well. The way we can think about leveraging digital transformation for customer service is by using technology. And the common technology products are AI, ML, chatbots, live chat, digitizing IVRs or connected IVRs. It's extremely important if you want to be successful in the digital transformation, to have the strategy aligned with the business. And that's the number one goal. Always think about building future-proof products, and that's by having a platform which helps you to build once, deploy anywhere approach. And that's how you can really think about growing and transforming your customer experiences. Before I hand it over to Chad, I had a couple of other slides I want to show you. We have a new ebook on digital transformation. So a lot of the details of this webinar you can pick up from the ebook as well. And this, if you want this ebook, just send us an email at digitaltransformation@247-inc.com. It's basically a fantastic ebook which provides you a step-by-step guide and what exactly are the different examples and there's a successful projects and a great successful book. So I'll just pause for a second so you have the email. We also have a Customer Engagement Summit on March 7th and 8th at 2018. Some of the key speakers we have are from, Kate Leggett from Forrester, our CEO, P.V. Kannan, and James Buckers from Sequoia Capital. So you're welcome to attend this. And if you want to RSVP, please send an email to rsvp@247inc.com. With that, I'll send it over to Chad for any questions.
Well, Vijay, thank you very much. And as I said at the beginning of the webinar for our guest, we're going to move fast and furious. So the good news is this will all be recorded and slides will be shared. There are a number of questions swirling through my mind, and again, Vijay, I think with Execs in the know, it's really no matter what stage of maturity of the brand, if they're level 1, 2, 3, or 4, when it comes into customer channels and engagement models, really that's what we're here for, as an advocate for the corporate brand to help them get insights and best practices around what other brands are doing. So I'd encourage our listeners to get involved in that community. If you could just for a minute, Vijay, go back to the previous slide, and I will get to this in a minute. This slide right here. I see your Twitter handle is on there, but for people that want to maybe directly reach you from today's presentation, Vijay, is there a phone number or a quick email address that maybe we could just get out onto this platform and the recording?
Yeah, so I would just definitely suggest going through queries at 247.ai. You can also email me at vijai.shankar, so it's vijai.shankar @247.ai.
Okay, perfect, and thank you for that. Okay, we've got some questions coming in, and I want to just jump into this right away, and then we've got some final slides we'll leave everyone with sore thoughts. So my first question quickly, Vijay, is obviously we talked a lot about digital transformation and connecting the digital customer touch points, which we could debate and argue all day long where that is in the strategy, why that's important, and where brands are at in that journey. But how do you analog touch points such as voice? Where does voice fit into this in your perspective around that?
So that's a great question, Chad. So the common question which I've always gotten is voice going to go away? And the answer is no, voice is never going to go away. It's always going to be there as well. But just that I think the transformation happening is there are more and more calls going to the digital, more and more interactions going to the digital channels. So you want to use voice as a good safety net. You want to use voice as a safety net for any complex journeys which cannot be answered by digital channels. So that's always a safety net. You want to use voice for your high-value customers, for your high-value journeys. So the agents who are actually interacting on voice channels are really the ones focusing on the high-value customers and the high-value journeys. But a key point to all of this is that voice has to be thought about as a complete integrated channel. It is not a silo by any means, because if somebody is going on digital channels, not able to get their information, and then calling in, you need to know why the customer is calling in beforehand rather than having to go through the process all over again.
I completely subscribe. Voice is not going to go away, and predicted that many times, and still will be an advocate of voice for a number of reasons at another topic, another conversation. But Vijay, we've got some people that voted when I asked level 1, 2, 3, and 4 back to that chart. But for those that may be level 1 and 2, and again, from just simple clarity, I think it would be good just to get captured on the recording is, from your perspective, I'm going to ask you a couple of what ifs. So how is AI different from machine learning in the most clear, simplest way you can put it without a long explanation? But I mean, in your opinion, how is AI different from machine learning?
So my way is AI is leveraging your data, what you have collected, to form some form of intelligence in terms of how you want to interact with your customers. Machine learning is basically, I would say, it's complementary to AI. So machine learning is continuously learning after you've done your initial experiences. So you want to continuously learn and then feed that data back into AI to further optimize your interaction. So it's more about, it's like when we start learning a particular sport, we learn some things first, and then your coach observes what you're doing, and then he provides you more data points to further optimize your, further hone in on your talent. So that's the way I would look at AI and machine learning. So you do the basic intelligence first, provide the basic experiences based on what you know, and then as you capture more data, you leverage machine learning to further optimize and feed back into your intelligence to make your experiences better. Hope that answer was simple enough, Chad.
If anyone's got a different description to it or wants to write into Execs in the Know, we would love to hear your critical thinking in that area. And I'm going to throw another one at you real quick is, again, just in mind of different levels of where people are at in this journey, but, you know, in a very quick, concise way, what are the differences, in your opinion, between chatbots versus virtual agent or chat in general?
I think, in my opinion, this is just strictly my opinion, but chatbots and virtual agent, I think, mean the same. So I think the common confusion, what's happened is virtual agent term has been around for a long time. And previously, many virtual agents were a silo by many means. They were just pretty much offering self-service help and not really integrating with chatbots. I think the way chatbots has come into play is it's basically providing your self-service as needed. And then if you have a problem, having a seamless transition or using the same form factor to a chat agent with the full context transfer. I think that's the way I would like to differentiate the two.
Perfect. Well, that's well stated in piece. So I'm going to, you know, I'm a consumer like everyone else. We all interface with different brands at different moments of times as customers, consumers. There are a number of things for me that just drive me absolutely bananas about the approach of service with brands in different brands out there, not to mention any. But you know, today Nirvana level 4 seems so far out there in a lot of ways. When do you think that, you know, that 2025 or 2020, whatever it's going to be, when are we going to start to see a lot more of maybe brands falling into level 3, level 4? And maybe some of that's already going on. I don't want to say it's not inclusive at all. But what are your thoughts and predictability around some of this in the conversation? When are we going to start seeing some of this more mainstream and a sincere competitive differentiator for brands to really look at and consider seriously?
Oh, that's a good question, Chad. So it's difficult to predict, I would say, which year per se, but some of the leading cutting-edge companies are already doing some of this level 3, level 4 stuff. In fact, at your event in Chicago, I did see a few examples of some very cutting-edge experiences, live experiences in terms of customer support and customer, you know, in terms of providing the level 3, level 4 stuff. So my thinking is, my general philosophy is, if you want to think of going to level 3, level 4 in terms of the maturity, but it could be probably early next decade or so, or my positioning is, think about it as banking 2020 or retail 2020 or telecom 2020. If you have that mindset to achieve level 3, level 4 in terms of the ideal nirvana stage, it's easier to plan towards getting there from now on. The one way to think about that is the mindset has to be completely different. You can't think of selling into a digital channel with a retail hat. What I mean by that is there are certain things which you cannot possibly do on a digital channel. The key point is thinking about reducing friction in your journeys. How do I put this in a specific example? So maybe there are certain products like a checking account which you can fully automate and open on a digital channel, but you can't really close a mortgage paper on a digital channel. So why even venture in that direction? Why introduce friction by doing half of this on the digital channel, half of it on a physical channel? So it's thinking about, basically my understanding is from a company brand standpoint, thinking about what is that you can think of fully digitizing, what is that you think needs physical contact, separating the two, and then thinking about it from a purely digital angle, saying, okay, when I'm servicing these journeys on digital channels to achieve my nirvana stage, how can I do it such a way there is no friction in any of the customer journeys? Not introducing friction what we would normally introduce on physical channels, like saying, oh, you want to open a bank account on a digital channel, do all of this online, and then come to the bank and send me your signature card so you can actually open the channel. That's kind of really counterproductive to what exactly you're trying to accomplish. So that's the way I would look at it, is saying, take your thinking as half, think about what you can fully automate, what you cannot fully automate, and then focus your journeys on that completely for that thing.
Well, Vijay, I would encourage our listeners, I mean, I know you live and breathe and you are absolutely passionate about this entire conversation, and you've got some great thought leadership and insight, and I know you well enough that if I reach out to you as a brand, you know, you're happy to give some advice and some suggestions and some validation. So I would encourage our listeners to take advantage of some of that subject matter expertise with you, Vijay. I was also thinking of all the brands I have seen and interacted, and by means is that not all of them, I wish, but I would think the closest brand, and maybe a field trip someday with execs in the know, that I've seen the closest to Nirvana State is Microsoft. And we're going to see if we can organize something to get up there and see some of the things that you showed us here today. But Vijay, if you and others are seeing really best case examples out there and your client group or whatever, I mean, execs in the know really wants to know about this and share with our leadership group some of the phenomenal things brands are doing. So I'm going to throw that challenge out to you, Vijay, because I know you work with a dynamic set of client group within your umbrella, and I'm going to throw it out to our listeners. We want to know best practices and look to engage those things.
Yeah, absolutely, Chad. And yeah, to that note, and when we get your final slide, that's our goal to share with some of our customers at your event in Charleston, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a few minutes, but that's our goal too.
Let's go down to slide number 42, or just I want to quickly throw our guest out there one more slide down, I believe it is. If you could quickly go to the next slide on here. And the reason I want to bring this to our attendees' attention, Vijay, are you able to get to the next slide on there?
Yeah, I'm already here. The slide is already there on my screen.
Showing Customer Response Summit on here. I was looking for the AI briefing slide.
Okay.
There we go. That's one. So, folks, this is right around the corner, but we are hosting a field trip at Square in San Francisco. If you are a corporate brand, we've got a tremendous number of brands coming out. This is on December 5th. There'll be an Innovations Lab on the 4th, but if you want to see some of this stuff in discussion, in conversation, I would encourage you to join us in San Francisco, December 5th at Square, as we're going to have a very detailed briefing and show and tell, I would say, for that. Vijay, and the last thing is, if you go back to the previous slide, if you've not been to one of the national events, I would encourage you to get out. We'll be in Charleston, South Carolina, great area city, March 12th and 14th. Vijay, we know you'll be there. We look forward to working with you and team, and I encourage everyone to come to one of our national events. It really is a two-day journey of insights and success. If we go to the very last slide, about staying connected. Again, as soon as we finish the webinar, you're going to get a survey link. If you could just take a few minutes and talk about the value of today's session, and if you need and want more of this, Vijay, we have a lot more to talk about in 2018. I'm so excited for the future here and the kind of transition that we're living in all together at this moment. I can't wait, and I'm fully embracing it. But I would say leverage execs and leverage the expertise of Vijay and others. You don't have to work this in isolation. There's a huge support community out there that really wants to help and engage with you. So, Vijay, you've been a tremendous guest, and I thank you again for your time. This will now conclude today's webinar. Thank you for all our listeners and the people that have the chance to share this presentation and some of the post-demand that will go on. So have a great day. Keep your passion for customer success and engagement. Vijay, as always, I can't thank you enough.
Thanks, Chad. It is fun to present with you.
Okay, thank you now.